All right, welcome once again to the third edition of the DeepWaterMMA.com podcast. We'll be talking UFC on Fuel TV 8 this time from Japan. But before we get to that, thoughts on UFC 157?
Ronda Rousey armbar.
Ronda Rousey armbar. It was unexpected, to say the least.
Yeah, right?
No one saw that coming, Ronda Rousey armbar. Yeah, how did you feel watching that? Did it feel like the main event? Did it feel like it should have been the main event?
I felt like it was a good fight, you know? A lot of the women's fights are real good fights. They go out there and battle it out, usually. Pretty good. And it was a good fight. Carmouche took her back there and was like cranking her neck there for a second.
Was nervous.
Yeah, she was like...
the UFC's worst nightmare almost
man.
came true in that.
She was cranking on that neck.
She was. It looked uncomfortable, for sure.
Yeah, I knew Rousey wasn't going to submit to that.
No.
She's been training for so long that you get your head twisted around, your neck cranked and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you never know.
She said after the fight she was more worried about her top being pulled down. Than the actual hold that she was in. So.
Yeah, that's most high-level judo or jiu-jitsu guys or girls. They're not gonna get tapped from a crank or
right.
It's got to be like a joint lock.
Yeah,
or something,
a joint or an actual choke.
Yeah,
her head was cranked.
The can opener's not gonna work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was a good main card.
Dan Henderson, Lyoto Machida.
Yep, Dan Henderson, Lyoto Machida went the way I expected it to.
Yeah,
I called Machida 30-27. They ended up 29-28.
I know.
I think it could have been 30-27. Not sure.
That was a little strange. Even Machida said afterwards, he's like, he was surprised that one of the judges gave it to Henderson.
Yeah, I'm not sure which round it was or what, but
I'm surprised.
I don't know if Henderson really won one of those rounds.
I don't think so.
Maybe a sentimental win for.
It wasn't a great fight either, really.
Not a great fight. Kind of boring. Should have been. It would have been really great at 5 rounds. I feel like in the third round they were finally starting to
engage,
get things going a little bit more. Yeah, feel each other out a little bit, but. Lyoto popped him when he came in and got out of the way before Henderson could really do much to him. I actually was describing Henderson has a really interesting posture when he fights. Mm-hmm. I was just
he keeps his left shoulder real high.
Yeah, he sort of comes at people sideways.
Yeah,
it's like a stagger.
He hides behind his left shoulder. Yeah, if you watch.
Yeah, he's just looking to launch.
And he always loves,
makes it hard to hit him.
He loves to throw that. He throws a left low kick, and that sets him up for a big right hand.
Yeah, huge.
And so he's always looking for that. That's why he's kind of stepping sideways.
Yeah, he seemed to be stepping sideways. Yeah, almost like a stagger kind of more than anything, really. Yeah, and then Uriah Faber took care of business against Ivan Menjivar with a standing rear naked choke. That was pretty nice submission there by Uriah Faber.
That was pretty impressive because Ivan Menjivar's a high level black belt, you know.
Yeah.
So. To choke that guy out in the first round. It wasn't even. It was like 2 minutes or something, right?
Yeah, it wasn't too long. A couple minutes. Yeah, I didn't see that one going that way. I thought it'd be a more competitive fight than it ended up being, but
it was pretty competitive during the fight. You know, just Uriah Faber. I think he's just so strong. Man.
Yeah,
and really, people don't know. He's got a good squeeze. You know, like in jiu-jitsu class and stuff. You really, you hear about people squeeze.
Yeah,
like some people can just squeeze harder than other. Man, they got that. You know,
whatever
God-given ability to just crank down on a guillotine or a real naked choke, something like that.
Yeah, it was a good fight card. I think overall UFC 157. It was good. There's a lot of good undercard fights. You know, Kenny Robertson basically invented.
That was
new
crazy.
Submission.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
It's like an inverted. It's kind of like an inverted knee bar. Hamstring pull or something, but
I don't even know what you would call that. I guess just
even Joe Rogan was like, I'm not sure what that was, but it worked.
I don't think anybody knew but him.
Yeah,
he might have made it up right then.
Yeah, I think he did. I think he was kind of improv.
He's like, let me just grab this leg, see what happens.
Yeah, this seems like it would hurt. Let me try this. So so another good card in the books. 4-1 on the main card for me. I got to admit, I ate my words with the Koscheck Lawler fight. I totally disregarded Lawler, and he made me pay for it. So I'll have to reassess my opinion of Robbie Lawler going forward here. But
but that wasn't a great stop either.
Yeah, debatable stoppage.
I thought they should have let it go.
At least a little bit.
Koscheck stood right up. Like, as soon as he was getting shot, he was getting popped, you know, and but he stood right up as soon as her being stopped it. And so if you can stand up,
He stood up and started complaining right away.
If you can stand up right away, I think there's a point there. You know, you weren't exactly ready to be. You weren't stopped.
Yeah,
you could stand up.
Yeah,
you know?
especially right away like that. He didn't seem too wobbled or too beat up really. So
no.
Debatable finish there, but Lawler coming through as a pretty big underdog against Josh Koscheck. So anyway, I think that wraps up UFC 157. It was a great card, but we move right along. The UFC train doesn't stop moving for long, and we're right back on Fuel TV with UFC on Fuel TV 8 from Japan. I'm kind of excited about this.
I feel like we just had Fuel TV 7.
Yeah, we did. That was 2 weeks ago.
They're pumping them
Fuel
out.
Fuel TV
nowadays.
is just they are. Yeah, and it's a great card actually.
Yeah.
It's a nice little card. You know, it's not a pay-per-view card, but it's a nice Fuel TV card. I think you could even throw this on FX or something. It's a nice card.
I would like for it to be on FX. I think you'd get more viewership on FX for sure. You know, I don't understand why they do so many. It's probably just a contract and money, but you would think that a bigger audience equals bigger money. So why not put it on FX?
Right. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
What's FX going to be playing Saturday night? A rerun of Black Hawk Down.
Step Brothers.
Step Brothers again.
We'll be on again. Yeah.
For the 9th time.
Probably. Yeah. So yeah, UFC on Fuel TV 8 from Japan. The last time they were in Japan, it was Frankie Edgar against Benson Henderson. Which we watched that together.
Yeah.
Fantastic fight.
That was a good fight.
The crowd in Japan is interesting. I love the crowd in Japan, actually.
Yeah, me too.
I feel like so far there's 3 crowd types, right? There's the American crowd.
Which I hate.
They sort of seem uninformed, right? They do a lot of booing and things like that.
Man.
It's kind of a bad rap.
They were doing that a lot in the last UFC.
Yeah,
anytime they're not punching each other in the face, like standing there like Rock and Sock and Robots, are like, boo!
Yeah. Anytime they're grappling or clinching, it gets boos. At least in America, yeah. And then Brazil, right? You have the Brazilian crowd. UFC's been going down there. It's like watching a soccer game.
Yeah, it goes crazy the whole time.
Yeah, they're jumping around and stuff. Even on the undercard.
In my head, I see them getting there like 5 hours early, and just like nobody in the octagon at all, and there's like still chanting the same.
Yeah,
it's just like. Nobody's even there.
Yeah,
like,
it's great.
Bruce Buffer's doing his warm-ups, and they're like, oh, no.
It's a great crowd down there in Brazil.
Yeah.
And then we have Japan, which is like the opposite of Brazil.
Right?
Quiet, respectful. It's almost like they're watching golf or tennis or something. Right?
It's like a tennis match.
Yeah, they applaud when someone does something good.
Yeah.
It's an interesting crowd. I love it. I love the culture of the crowds. I mean, that might be worth writing something up about on the website, but the culture of the crowds is an interesting thing. So we'll be in Japan for this one. We'll start at the top of the main card. It's a great main card. It's a good one. It's free. At the top, no title implications that I'm aware of, I don't think. Right?
Weird situation with the weight, too.
Yeah, we have Vanderlei Silva, who is, I think, pretty clearly on the downside of his career at this point. Right?
Yeah.
Vanderlei Silva taking on Brian Stann at 205. So they're both moving up a weight class for some reason.
Yeah,
I don't know. Has that been explained to you at all? Do you know why they're doing this?
Yeah, I read Silva a little thing that he said. He was just talking about how it's easy for him to get to a 195.
Yeah.
But the last 10 pounds to make 185 is literally too hard, and it makes him. He said he's fighting at 205 to save his marriage. He says it makes him, he says he wants to kick the dog. Was his quote?
Just crazy.
He gets mad, like
starts losing his mind.
You get cranky. Yeah, I mean,
around 190.
Your body's pretty much telling you, you shouldn't be doing this. This is bad. So you get cranky and irritable, but he's gonna go to 205 and stay there. He said, but Brian Stann just agreed to a fight with Vanderlei Silva at 205, and he's going to go right back down.
Plans to drop back down again.
He said, I'm a middleweight, I'm not a light heavyweight.
Yeah.
Brian Stann's whole thing was, he wasn't getting, beat up as a light heavyweight so much as neutralized. He wasn't always the stronger guy.
Right. Yeah.
So his thing is, I'm a middleweight. I want to be the stronger fighter.
Yeah, stronger, bigger guy.
Yeah.
So,
Still weird though, a little strange.
yeah, it's an interesting fight though. I think it'll be a good fight. This is a little bit of background here. Well, let's talk about the odds because Deepwater MMA has become, I think, a pretty good source for betting advice and information as far as the MMA fights go.
No, if you have listened to our podcast and
you should be making some money.
We've gave you some good picks.
Yeah,
we've been correct.
Yeah, so far so good, right? We've gotten one fight wrong in the last two main cards.
Yeah.
So we're doing pretty good with this. Brian Stan, last time I looked, these are Bovada odds. You might find slightly different odds, but I think we'll get the gist. Brian Stan was minus 250 against Vanderlei Silva here. Vanderlei Silva's plus 195. You might find him at plus 200. How does that feel to you? Does that feel like the right balance of odds there?
Yeah. I don't blame the odds makers for giving Stan the favorite. I think it's hard to predict Silva's chin, really. You know, I mean, if you watch,
that was one of my. I was going to try and get to that. Yeah.
If you watch his fight with Kung Lee caught him a few times, pretty good, and his chin took it. You know, he took the shots, and then he ended up finishing Kung Lee.
Yeah.
But like, if you look at the Chris Lieben, even though Chris Lieben is one of my favorite fighters, he's got a brick for a left hand. You know?
Yeah.
But he didn't get caught that hard, and he went to sleep. You know, so and I think Brian Stan's his chin is still in its prime. You know what I mean? And he can take a shot. So so it might be Stan's shot versus Vanderlei's.
I was just going to say, I feel like it's going to come down to who can take a better punch because they're going to hit each other, right?
Yep. You know that's going to happen in this fight.
Yeah, exactly. This is unlikely maybe to go to the ground unless Brian Stan decides to take it there for some reason, but I don't know why he would.
Can you imagine if somebody submits between Vanderlei Silva and Brian Stan?
Total ground fight?
First round, like omoplata or something, you know? First round Gogo Plata.
Yeah, there's probably some long odds on that if you're going with that. This is Vanderlei Silva's 26th fight in Japan. This is pretty much like his home field.
He loves Japan.
I mean, any chance? I mean, he's the underdog, and maybe rightfully so. But is there any chance that he's motivated by fighting in Japan? I mean, we saw Rampage at the last time they fought in Japan. Came out in his old shorts, I think, right, and kind of little throwback style Pride
to the
days.
Pride music.
Came out to his Pride music. So I mean, does that work in Vanderlei Silva's favor? I mean, Rampage lost that fight to Bader. Right, but what about Silva? Silva, kind of the king of Japan there for a couple of years.
Oh, yeah. I think 6 years.
Does that possibly help him beat Brian Stan, or is that more of an entrance to the fight thing and then it's over? You know what I mean?
I think he was the middle, they called it middleweight champ in Pride. But even though it was light heavyweight, for 6 years over there, he didn't lose a fight in Japan.
Yeah.
For 6 years, man.
Yeah.
But, going back to what you're talking about, he's training with Rafael Cordero, who's his old shootbox trainer, and they train in L.A., and he's motivated, super motivated. I watched this little behind-the-scenes thing, and but you know what? I think that can be a good thing and a bad thing. Vanderlei's, you could see it when he fights. He's a very emotional fighter, you know what I mean? He's the axe murderer. He's super aggressive.
One of the best nicknames.
It might, the best nickname.
The best, I would.
I'm
not going to argue that.
The axe murderer.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
It kind of describes him.
I mean, Uncle Creepy, close second, but But I think that can be a bad thing. Too much motivation, especially with somebody like Brian Stan, who's got crisp, straight punches, which Vanderlei Silva never does.
Yeah, there's not a lot of fat on Brian Stan's punches.
No.
Right?
They're crisp and clean.
Yeah.
Straight right hand.
Yeah.
Down the pipe, man. He throws a good left hook, good right hand. Yeah. And just to be blunt about it, I think he's going to catch Silva in the second round.
Second round?
Yeah, the first round should be a good, exciting first round.
Get the crowd going, maybe.
Get a little bit hyped up, a little excitement. I think he's going to catch him. Stan's going to catch Silva, man.
Yeah, I mean, Vanderlei Silva, it's like we said, it's his 26th fight in Japan, and he's fought on a lot of other places, so he's got a lot of fights on his record. He's a little worn. The tread on the tires, might be wearing down.
Yeah.
He fought once in 2012, twice in 2011, once in 2010, and once in 2009.
That's crazy.
I mean, Vanderlei Silva, as big of a name as he is, he hasn't fought that much in the last. That's 4 years. He's fought 5 times in 4 years. That's not.
Yeah,
he's not totally active. You know, that works against you at a certain point. It's got to.
He fought Michael Bisping. And that was only like
that was in Australia,
4 fights ago or something. 4 fights ago. But that was like
2011
3
maybe.
years ago.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So he hasn't been really active, and he used to be a really active fighter in Pride. Most of the Pride fighters were really active.
Yeah, I think too, when you compare that to Brian Stann, he fought twice in 2012 and then 3 times in 2011. So like we said, he's kind of the more youthful fighter, more tread on the tires, you know, at this point. He's only got a 12-5 record. He hasn't been fighting in MMA for 20 years like Vanderlei Silva has or whatever.
It seems like I was watching old Vanderlei Silva bare knuckle fights the other day.
Jesus God.
IFC fights, man, they have a net so you don't go out of the ropes.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. He's like got this dude's head in the net, and he's like punching the net like to hit his head, you know, like
that's nuts. Yeah, he's been around forever. And I think he's on the downside myself. I think these are pretty good odds. I think Brian Stann, I mean, unless he gets caught, he could. Anybody can, but I think the odds are pretty nice for Brian Stann. I think he's a pretty. I hate to say safe because that's sort of like overdoing it, but you know, if you're putting money on fights here, Brian Stann's got a pretty good chance to win, probably better than the odds suggest. I think. Yeah. So that could rise a little bit towards fight night.
I'm surprised it's not higher a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like maybe it should be higher.
I think they're giving Vanderlei Silva respect being Vanderlei Silva.
Yeah, they're respecting the name Vanderlei Silva.
He's still Vanderlei Silva. You know what I mean? He's still the axe murderer.
Yeah. But, how do you see this one going?
Is that enough? You know?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. It sucks because Vanderlei, I know he wants to come back to Japan and kick some ass, you know, but...
Any chance this is Silva's last fight? Think he retires?
You know, I was kind of thinking that.
Japan, retiring in Japan, maybe?
I know.
Is this like the right moment for him?
I know he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when do you call it quits? I'm sure the guy's got plenty of money, man. He's been fighting forever, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, unless he's got some crazy habit we don't know about.
Right.
He spends all his money on hookers or something. I don't know, but...
Yeah. No, I mean, he's fighting in Japan. That's pretty much his home cage, you know, or home field, I guess, right? So it might be the right place to go out.
He feels comfortable there.
Yeah,
you know, and I don't think Stan's ever fought in Japan. I'm pretty sure about it.
No, the American goes to Japan to take on the Japanese star. Yeah, predictions. You said Brian Stann, second round KO.
Yeah, TKO KO.
TKO KO. Yeah. I kind of see the same thing happening. I don't see this going to a decision.
No.
I think Brian Stann knocks him out.
It's 5 rounds, too.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It is 5 rounds.
There's no way
this is
like going to
I don't think it goes past 3.
That's what that's
maybe
why
3 rounds.
If he doesn't knock him out in the second round, look for the third round knockout. Because the thing, too, Brian Stann's conditioning, even though Vanderlei Silva does have good conditioning, I think it's better than Vanderlei Silva's.
Yeah.
You know, because Vanderlei wings his punches hard, man.
Yeah.
And even though he's in great shape, even though he's in great shape, that takes a toll on you. If you throw everything 100%. Brian Stann's not throwing every single thing 100%. He might set you up with, 80%, 80%, 100%.
Yeah, I see Stann winning it in the second or third round by a KO or a TKO, something like that. Knock him down and finish him kind of thing. Any last words on the Silva-Stann fight? Should be a great fight, though, I think. Should be a good main event.
I want to watch it. Like, I'm pretty excited for Vanderlei Silva, Brian Stann, ever since they announced it.
Yeah.
And he's in Japan. Vanderlei's going to be hyped up.
Yep.
Stan doesn't want to lose.
I would say
205 pounds.
Yeah.
Brian Stann at 205.
Big dude.
Yeah, man.
And I'd say if you're a Vanderlei Silva fan, soak it up while you can, because even if this isn't his last fight, he doesn't have too many more fights.
I don't think this is his last fight, win or lose, but...
Yeah. I mean,
Dana's already said before that he wanted him to retire.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and I think Dana speaks up when he needs to.
It also depends on how this fight ends, you know?
Yeah, if he wins, then that won't be his last fight.
Yeah, and if he loses in a devastating head bouncing off the mat KO, it might be time to say, enough's enough. But
well, it should be a good one. Moving down the card, were you going to say something?
No, debate for another day.
Debate for another day. Yeah, as far as all that stuff goes. Yeah, retirement and all that. All right, moving down the card, the co-main event here. We have another exciting one, I think. This could be a good fight. At heavyweight, Mark Hunt versus Stefan Skyscraper Struve. Tallest fighter in the UFC, right?
Interesting. Oh, yeah. Interesting matchup.
Yeah, it really interesting matchup.
6'11", isn't he?
6'11", yeah.
God, that guy's a
Super
giant,
tall.
man.
Every picture I've seen of him, like if you're looking at pictures, the guy he's fighting is like looking up and punching up, and it's like this weird. It's like they look like they're in different weight classes.
I wonder if he's ever been kicked in the head.
Yeah, that's a good. I don't know.
I bet that's impossible.
Yeah,
he's never had a kick.
How tall do you have to be to hit that guy in the head? Right,
as tall as him, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you'd have to be 6'10", 6'11" yourself.
Yeah. Odds wise, right? Stefan Struve minus 175 the last time I checked to Mark Hunt as plus 145. So this is the closest fight on the main card at heavyweight here. How do you see this one going? This could be a good fight. I mean, Mark Hunt is Mark Hunt a one-dimensional fighter or what?
I don't know if that's fair to say he's one-dimensional, because if you saw the fight against Fedor that he almost got Fedor in a key lock or an Americana, and which shows that he has some ground game.
Yeah.
And anybody who trains MMA
at this
is
point
going to train. Yeah, if you're in the UFC,
2013
you're going
UFC,
to train on the
better
ground,
be,
even if you don't like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in saying that, Mark Hunt is a kickboxer. You know what I mean? He's not a jiu-jitsu guy, and he's not looking to submit people. That thing with Fedor, it was a random...
Just an opportunity.
It was an opportunity, and he tried to take it.
Yeah.
I see this being tough for Mark Hunt just because Stefan Struve is so big. But Stefan Struve is not even close on the same level as Mark Hunt kickboxing.
Yeah, striking
Not
wise.
even close.
Yeah.
You can't even say that. If you watch Mark Hunt's fight against Czech Congo, that left hand that he caught Czech Congo with and staggered him was like brilliant, man.
Yeah.
This guy's got great, awesome stand-up, and
real precise.
The Super Samoan, man. If he hits you, you're going down.
Yeah.
He's got weight behind his punches.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah.
Those Samoan guys, man. Ray Cepho is another one.
Right.
Man, when they punch, man, it's like
lights out.
Lights out. Yeah. But Stefan Struve does have a much better ground game than Mark Hunt.
Do you get the impression that like the UFC is sort of waiting for Stefan Struve to mature and like turn into something, or are the expectations a little bit too high for Struve? Because I feel he's had tons of fights in the UFC. He's been around forever. He seems to be getting bigger. He's always been tall, but he's getting more muscular.
He's filling out a little.
I heard
he's still young.
Yeah, he's young. He's like 24, 25 or something, maybe even younger. And I heard he's actually cutting weight for the first time in a heavyweight fight. So he's over 265 and he's cutting a couple of pounds, right? Not a lot, but a couple of pounds. So he's clearly been
I didn't think he weighed
getting
that much.
bigger. Yeah, he didn't used to weigh that much. But that's part of what is happening here with him. He's getting old. He's 24, 25 now. That's when you kind of start settling into your body type.
He needed to grow a little bit more muscle. He did. He was a little too skinny, man, and lanky, and I think that's what was kind of helping him get knocked down a little bit.
Yeah.
His neck is as big as mine, and he's 6'11". You know, he needed a little bit more thicker neck, shoulders type of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I'm with you completely. I always sort of imagine him like a deer on ice or something, because he's so tall and lank, and like if you hit him, his legs sort of like slip out from under him. Yeah, he's all limb. Yeah.
He is, man.
It's like a stick figure falling to the ground. Yeah, but maybe not so much anymore. Maybe that's the difference this time. So I think it comes down to if Struve can keep his distance. That's my question. Like, can he keep his distance? Because we've seen him not keep his distance.
Yes.
And he gets pressed up against the cage, and he gets nailed. We saw it with Junior Dos Santos. I think with Roy Nelson too. Did he lose to Roy Nelson?
Oh yeah, he got knocked out bad.
So. I mean, those are two models right there. If we're looking at like previous Struve fights, maybe Mark Hunt, maybe that's the recipe for Mark Hunt. Press him, close the distance, catch him on the chin.
Yeah,
this is an interesting fight.
I think it'll happen. Mark Hunt is very motivated for this fight. He's coming back to Japan. He loves fighting in Japan. That's where he made his name. That's where he won the K1.
Yeah,
he was a big underdog. Nobody even knew who he was, and he came and he beat all the best kickboxers in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch his last couple fights, man, he's knocking people out.
He's won 3 in a row.
He's knocking people out, and
he beat Chris Tucherer,
and
and then beat Ben Rothwell, and then beat Czech Congo. Those are his last 3 fights.
Brock Lesnar's old training partner, Chris
Yeah, Tusherer.
Yeah.
Tusherer. He's gone, I think, right?
Yeah.
Stefan Struve on the other side
is one. That was a good knockout, too, man. He walked away. Yeah. He caught him with that uppercut, and then he just walks away before the ref even got there. Yeah. He's like, yeah, you're done.
Stefan Struve has won 4 in a row, so this might be the most... This could be... I think there's a reason this is the closest fight based on the odds. They both won. They're both streaking right now. Somebody's going to win, right? Struve has beaten Pat Barry, Dave Herman, LeVar Johnson, and Stipe Miocic. Miocic?
Yeah, Miocic.
Miocic.
Stipe.
Right, so yeah, he's won 4 in a row.
Miocic.
Yeah, so you think Mark Hunt catches him? That's what you.
I do.
Seems like you're leaning that way.
I do. You know what? I'm not gonna lie either. I'm a big Mark Hunt fan, and I want to see him win.
Yeah.
And maybe that does sway my judgment a little, but I really think Mark Hunt fights good in Japan. Yeah. And I don't think Stefan Struve's fought in Japan. It's a culture shock. It's a completely different culture over there.
We've seen it with other guys coming from Japan and other places. Yeah.
It's a long flight too, man. That's a lot, and they're, I forget, they're like 12 hours behind us or something like that, or ahead of us. So it's a weird transition if you're not used to it. I don't think that's going to affect Struve a lot. That's just another thing to think about. You know what I mean? But when I analyze this.
No, these are all factors, man. If you're putting money on something, you got to think about it.
He's a professional. These guys are professionals, but still, man, you're a human being,
Yeah. I think I'm leaning a little bit the other way in this. This is actually Deepwater. This is DeepWaterMMA.com's best bet according to Kelly Miller. So we'll put this on Kelly Miller he'll shoulder the responsibility of this pick come say Sunday morning or whatever. I think Stefan Struve, like we said, as a maturing person, I'm hoping, I should say, I hope that he's able to keep his distance from Mark Hunt and find a way to get this fight to the ground.
Yes, there you go. I was going to say, if he's smart, he will try somehow to get this to the ground.
Yeah.
It's a good pick.
How does he do that?
It's a good pick to pick Stefan Struve. Just based on the fact that his ground game is a lot better than Mark Hunt's. But then when you start to think about it, right?
Yeah.
How does he get Mark Hunt down?
Right, because Mark Hunt's not some guy you can throw around.
Yeah, and Stefan Struve's not a great wrestler.
Right.
And he submitted a couple guys, but off his back when he got took down.
Yeah.
So I just see this being a tough fight for Stefan Struve.
Yeah.
Stylistically, but also you can turn that around on Mark Hunt.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard for stubby little Mark Hunt to get to freaking Stefan Struve.
How do you take a stump to the ground?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting matchup, man.
Yeah, it should be good. Well, I'm thinking Struve by late submission or maybe a decision.
That's not a bad choice.
But I think if Hunt is gonna win, it'll be by KO.
Yeah.
It'll be kind of decisive.
I think he's KO or bust, man.
So KO or bust for Mark Hunt. So I'm thinking Struve will be mature enough and wise enough to find a way. So hopefully he's been training somehow.
Hopefully his coaches
have been figuring something out, right?
Are smart enough to pound in his head that he can't stand with Mark Hunt.
Yeah. Last question on this fight before we move on. If Stefan Struve is able to win this, is he a heavyweight title contender? Where do you put him in the heavyweight picture? Because we have Dos Santos, Velasquez, Silva. I think this would be 5 in a row if he wins.
I think you got to put him up there with the top 5, top 8, whatever you want to say, guys. And but I think he needs another fight against I mean, Mark Hunt's a good name, but he needs like a Frank Mir or a big name, or
one more big name probably,
or maybe Nogueira or something like that. That might be a good fight for Stefan.
That might be good, if you can win. Yeah. All right. Moving down the card again, the third fight, Takanori Gomi taking on Diego the Dream Sanchez. He's officially changed his nickname.
Not the Nightmare anymore.
He's no longer is he the Nightmare because apparently that was too negative. And he's like a positive guy at this point in his life. I think he's 31 now. He's sort of not a kid anymore, and he doesn't want to be the nightmare. Yeah. He wants to be the dream because that's more positive. So
yeah, he's a spiritual
credit to the optimism, I guess, or whatever.
He's a spiritual dude. he's
an interesting guy.
Yeah, he's interesting. I saw him.
This could be fight of the night.
I saw him in an advertisement for deer antler spray.
Really?
Do you remember the whole Ray Lewis thing? I was looking up deer antler velvet and what it is. I've never heard of it.
I didn't either, no.
And he's in an ad for it.
I didn't know they had ads for that.
I didn't know that either.
What world, what bubble?
I don't know.
He's added.
The MMA fighter Diego Sanchez says deer antler sprays, works for him. He's like giving a thumbs up.
Yeah,
I don't know. But,
nice.
But I thought that was funny. I'm like, I thought that's illegal, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't think you can use that.
Yeah,
maybe you
my
can.
Impression. Maybe we don't know what we're talking about. This is a lightweight fight. Takanori Gomi is the underdog, plus 230.
Man, what happened to Gomi, man? I used to watch that guy in Pride, man, and he just was unbelievable. And
okay, we're back again.
We're back.
A little slight interruption there. We were discussing, I think, what happened to Takanori Gomi.
What happened to Gomi,
man? He's fallen off the rails a little bit since he's joined the UFC. It seems like. Is he old now? Like, is he on the downside? He doesn't seem old to me.
I think he's at least to me. It seemed like he was more motivated back in the day.
Yeah.
He even seemed like he looked like in better shape. He knocked out Tyson Griffin, if you remember, in the UFC. I think he's only won once in the UFC. I don't remember another win.
Yeah, he's 3-2 in his last 5 fights, and he's won 2 in a row.
Okay, he has won 2 in a row.
That's what I've
just shows you how much Gomi's on my radar, though. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't even remember that he won 2 in a row.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
Right.
And it must have not been that spectacular.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even know he won, you know what I
mean? He is fighting in Japan.
Home turf.
Home turf here, and I think, I've heard a lot of stuff about traveling from Japan to the United States. As far as that it's a lot more difficult to travel from Japan to the United States than it is to travel from the United States to Japan.
West to east.
I don't really understand it myself.
This is what the fighters say.
Okay, break it down.
Going west to east, so flying from Japan to wherever, the States, for some reason messes with your body, or more than flying east to west. I think you lose time.
Yeah.
So when you lose time, it really throws you off.
Yeah. As opposed to like gaining time or whatever.
Yeah, that's because gaining time doesn't really affect you as much. I don't know. I've never flown to Japan, so I can't really sit here and say.
I have no personal experience.
Yeah, and I've never really even talked to a professional fighter about it. But from what I hear, that's what I hear. It's easier to go from here to Japan than it.
Yeah, I've heard that said by a lot of people.
Yeah, and Japanese fighters don't translate well over here.
They haven't so far.
A few have, but most of those guys, like I believe Chain Sung Jung he trains a lot in the States.
Yeah.
And stuff,
So that's probably the difference.
I think if
you're going to make it in the UFC as a Japanese or Asian fighter, you should probably not train in Asia.
Yes.
You should probably train in the United States, right?
Yeah.
Because of that, it seems like a serious enough disadvantage for people. So that disadvantage is not a factor for Gomi in this fight, and I'm just wondering if these odds you think should be a little more even. I mean, plus 230 for Gomi, minus 300 for Sanchez. I don't know if I'm that confident in Diego Sanchez.
I think this is one where the odds makers know the Sanchez name better than the Gomi name, kind of thing.
Could be.
To me, it's a lot closer on paper.
Yeah.
I think Sanchez can win. He probably will win. That'll be my pick for Sanchez to win.
Okay.
But I think it's going to be like a split decision, very close
really
fight.
Close.
Because Gomi actually is a very good wrestler. He was a wrestler.
Right.
Wrestling's big in Japan. That's one of the only countries
other than the U.S.
where it's like really big.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's actually big in Turkey and places.
Okay.
There's other. I didn't mean that, but it's huge over there, kind of like it is here. It gets a lot of money. Well, now it might be different, starting to be different with the Olympics dropping wrestling.
Yeah,
which is crazy. We'll talk about that another time.
Maybe,
But so he's comes from a really good wrestling base, and so does Sanchez. So it's like, man, it's a close fight,
Yeah, it should be. Diego Sanchez's last 3 fights have won fight of the night. I thought that was an interesting stat.
Dude, he comes in to fight.
Yeah, he comes in to fight, and I mean, one of those has to be that Martin Kampmann fight.
He comes in to win, that was a great fight. What did I saw him and Jake Ellenberger recently? Rewatched that.
That was a good fight too.
And he was getting beat up a little bit by Jake Ellenberger, and then he came back in that 3rd round, dude.
He does not go away.
He was putting it on Jake.
Can Gomi knock him out? Because does Gomi have better boxing? He's got pretty good boxing.
Yeah, I think you got to give the stand up to Gomi. But
like technically.
Yeah, but I think aggression-wise, Gomi throws good body punches too, man.
Yeah.
If you watch him fight, he throws really hard, good body punches.
Yeah.
And that's usually what sets up his KOs.
Mm-hmm.
Because he'll throw real hard to the body early, and then he'll go to the head. And he's got you thinking body, and then he hits you in the head.
Yeah.
Sanchez...
This is a tough
I
fight
think
to pick.
what it's going to be is his aggression.
Yeah.
Gomi's...
Making the difference? In the
nowadays,
judges, maybe?
Nowadays Gomi's not as an aggressive fighter as he used to be.
Mm-hmm.
He was very aggressive in Pride, and that's what used to win him. He was the Pride lightweight king for a long time.
Right.
But
it was only a few years ago.
Yeah,
when he fought Nick Diaz in that fight you recommended on the last podcast, I believe.
If you didn't watch undefeated. If you didn't watch that,
Gomi was undefeated, and that was only like 4 years ago. Right? He had never lost in Pride at that point until Nick Diaz beat him. Hey, dude.
Almost got attacked by a cat there.
Yeah, it's a cat attack.
I don't think she agrees with our pick, man.
No, the cat is trying to tell us something. Who does Diego Sanchez have more ways to win the fight, or is that's not accurate?
That's a fair way to say that. I think he's more of a ground and pound guy than Gomi.
Yeah.
But you know what? If you watch old Gomi fights, that's the thing. If Gomi's old Gomi, where he's good standing up and he wrestles and he's got submissions. If you watch him, he fought Charles Crazy Horse Bennett. You remember that guy? Crazy Horse?
No, I don't even. I don't
he
remember.
was a nut. But he submitted him, which isn't a huge thing because actually, if you know Crazy Horse, he had no submission game whatsoever. But it was a slick submission, man. He had like a Kimura wrapped all the way around his head. It was pretty cool. But so he's got submissions,
Yeah, he's not. He just doesn't use them, maybe.
No, he doesn't really in the UFC. I just see Sanchez being too aggressive, a little bit stronger than Gomi.
Right.
And it's hard to knock Sanchez out. I don't know if he's ever been knocked out completely. I know he got stopped, BJ stopped him, and a couple people.
He got knocked down with a head kick.
There you go.
Against somebody, but popped back up.
BJ kicked him.
Was it BJ Penn? I forget exactly. Yeah. And he popped right back up.
It cut him bad though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. That was.
But he didn't seem too affected by it.
No, that's what I mean. Sanchez can take a punch, you know. So.
I wrote. He's almost got this Guida sort of energy. He's sort of bounces around and he's sort of doesn't tire really at all. So okay. So then describe how you feel like this one's going here. You picked Sanchez. How do you see this?
I feel like Sanchez is gonna run over to the freaking other side of the octagon when they call a bell and just
start going after
just go nuts and be the more aggressive fighter and get some takedowns and Gomi will probably have some shots standing up, punch him a few times, but I think he'll get more. Sanchez will get more takedowns and control the
grind
fight.
It out.
Yeah, I think his strategy will probably be that to take him down and grind him, or to put him up against the cage and grind him because Gomi does gas out.
Yeah,
he's gassed out in a bunch of fights. Yeah. So I think he wants to grind him, wear him down, gas him out.
Good point. So maybe so that makes these odds a little bit more interesting to me. I kind of see Gomi looking for a big punch the whole time and not getting it, you know, or getting it and not winning from it.
That's a good way to look at it.
And otherwise I see Sanchez exactly doing what you just said there, kind of pressing action and moving things against the cage and just dragging him to the ground when he can and just kind of getting Gomi off his game a little bit. That's based on Gomi fighting in America, you know what I mean? So or other places, based on what we've seen in the UFC lately.
In his UFC career, you have to base it on that. You can't really look at he used to be.
Yeah.
I mean, you could look at
Fedor. A lot of people used to be
the best guy ever. And Fabricio Verdum put him in a triangle. Now Fabricio Verdum's a top tier black belt, but Fedor of 2004 doesn't lose to Fabricio Verdum.
Right,
you know?
Right. Yeah, so I'm leaning the same way here. I think the odds maybe are a little skewed towards Sanchez, but I do think Sanchez wins a close decision. I think it could be another really good fight.
Yeah.
Depending on what Gomi can bring into things here a little bit.
If Gomi doesn't gas.
Yeah, and if he doesn't gas out. Yeah. All right, so another two more Sanchez selections there. Next fight down here, 2 left on the main card. Another interesting fight. Yushin Okami against Hector Lombard. Okami is a plus 175 underdog.
I was a little surprised at that.
And Lombard's minus 210. That was actually right off the top. Is Yushin Okami underrated as a fighter? He's quiet. He doesn't say much. He's almost personality-less. Right? He has more personality that I'm aware of.
You almost have to say that that's true. You know that he is an underrated fighter. I think he's always been an underrated fighter in the UFC.
He won like what 6, 7, 8, 9 fights in a row before he got that title shot against Anderson Silva.
Yeah, he had a bunch. He had a long string there.
When do you hear about a dude winning 8 or 9 fights straight?
I mean, and if you look,
and not getting a title shot, is it because he's boring? Like, is he just not a personality?
I think that's part of it. You know, that he just doesn't have. Well, he's a Japanese guy, and like their culture's a little different, so he's not outspoken. You know, not a lot of Japanese fighters are very outspoken. And
yeah, that's true.
He's, you know, that's Yushin Okami. That's what you get. You know.
yeah. On the flip side, Hector Lombard, is he overrated? He came in from Bellator. He had this incredible winning streak, and then he lost to Tim Boetsch in kind of a weird fight and
this
kind of
like
a boring fight.
Tim Boetsch loser bracket. Fight. You know.
Yeah, really.
Tim Boetsch kind of upset both these guys, and now they're fighting. But Lombard's just a powerhouse, man. He's a little freaking stump.
Yeah.
He's not very tall, and he's got tons of power. I don't see Lombard like controlling Okami, man. Okami's huge. Like I heard Joe Rogan talk about it. Okami looks like a heavyweight.
Yeah,
and he
probably
fights
does.
at
He probably walks
185.
around.
He's like 6'3", 6'4", and he's huge. He weighs like 200 and I forget 215, 220 pounds, and then cuts down from that.
Jeez.
That's a huge cut. He does one of the biggest cuts in the UFC.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And Lombard's a Olympic judokan. You know, he can throw anybody in the world on their head, but he never really uses that too much.
Yeah, I haven't seen him really.
No, because he's so damn powerful, man. He realized early in his career, hey, it's a lot easier to knock people out. I heard Roy Nelson say that. You know, it's a lot easier to punch somebody one time in the head than work all night for a submission.
Yeah. So how do you see this one going? I mean, I see two different fight styles here a little bit. I see Lombard sort of so far in the UFC at least, he's stalking people down. And on the other hand, Yushin Okami seems like a more thoughtful, patient fighter, you know, a little bit more of a grinder. How do you see this one going? Right? Hang on, I keep interrupting you, but right?
That's okay.
Lombard's coming off a KO of Rousimar Palhares in December, which was to me maybe expected or something. I'm not sure.
That's not. It's
impressive.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, you knocked out Rousimar Palhares. He's a leg lock guy. And you're Hector Lombard.
He's a leg lock guy. The way Rousey is an armbar girl. Yeah, right? Like that's like their one. That's like their thing that they do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you knocked out a jiu-jitsu guy. And you're Hector Lombard. You look like an action figure. You know, you're supposed to knock people out.
Yeah, he kind of does.
You know, he looks like a friggin'.
He's made of plastic or something.
Video game, yeah, man.
Yeah.
But
and Yushin Okami his last one was over Alan Belcher in December, not even that long ago.
That's impressive,
like 2 months
dude.
ago. Yeah, Alan Belcher's no slouch.
No, dude. Okami is no joke, man. He trains with Chael Sonnen, and anybody who trains with Chael Sonnen's tough. First of all, and will. Even if they're not a great wrestler, will get great wrestling.
Yeah, will become good at it, yes.
And Okami was already a good wrestler from Japan.
Yeah.
And he's trains with Chael Sonnen, and I don't see why he's the big underdog here. I don't really get that.
Yeah, I don't either.
I see it being very a much more close fight than it is on paper.
Yeah. So what do you think? What's your pick?
Man.
This is a tough one.
For me,
really good card.
When I've been thinking about this fight, it can either go two ways.
Yeah.
Lombard's going to be very aggressive early. He should be. Before his first UFC fight, when he came out there and stood in front of Tim Boetsch for 3 rounds.
That was a weird fight.
Yeah, he was really aggressive in all his fights.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, he would really get after the guys.
Yeah.
I think in his last fight against Palhares, he came with that same mentality. He got back to that, and he got the knockout.
Yeah.
So maybe we're going to see Hector Lombard come out, be really aggressive. We've seen Yushin Okami get stopped before. Yeah. I mean, he got stopped by Tim Boetsch, which is, Tim Boetsch is a beast.
Yeah.
You know? So that's
strong.
It's not like he got stopped by some skinny dude who was a jiu-jitsu guy and beat him up. But he got stopped by Tim Boetsch, who used to fight at light heavyweight.
Yeah.
You know, he's a big, huge middleweight, just like Okami is.
Mm-hmm.
But Lombard is probably 6 inches to even more shorter than Tim Boetsch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not the same size. And Okami, like I said, he's a big dude, man. So it's going to be hard for Lombard to reach Okami if Okami keeps his distance.
That's a good point.
You know,
if
Okami's smart and keeps his distance, and Okami has good stand up.
Yeah.
Look at the Tim Bosch fight, man. He's got great boxing. Even the last Alan Belcher fight.
Yeah.
When he was on his feet with Alan Belcher, he held his own.
Yeah.
But he grinded. Alan Belcher to powder. I mean, he just wore him down.
That seems to be Okami's style.
I don't understand why that can't happen. Even though Lombard is a judo guy, Olympic judo guy,
Is he Olympic judo?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, he was a Cuban Olympic.
Okay,
Cuban Olympics. That was the whole thing with Lombard.
Wow.
It took him forever to get his visa, and that's why his last fight was in Australia. Because he still has problems in the States with working visas and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Because he's from Cuba.
Connection.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And he lived in Australia for a while and trained. I believe he still does train in Australia.
Okay. Wow.
But
yeah, what do you think here?
Like I said, it's like a tale of two. Which guy will impose his style on the other?
Yeah.
It's very hard to say. I don't see why Okami can't do that to Lombard though. Yeah. But then again, I don't see why Lombard can't punch Okami in the jaw.
Right.
Because we've seen that. This was the hardest fight for me by far to pick. But I got to go with Okami, man. I mean, you got to go with.
I was gonna say, gun to your head. Who do you pick?
You know what I mean. You got to go with what you know, and I know Okami wins fights in the UFC.
Yeah. He's proven
and
it
Lombard
for years.
has yet to prove that.
Yeah.
He's won one.
1-1.
1-1. So.
Right, and he beat a knee lock guy, like you said.
Yeah.
I'm going the same way. I think Okami closes the distance.
This is our upset pick, man.
This could be our upset pick. We're both agreeing with going with Okami here. I think Okami, he's thoughtful, he's patient, he's smart.
In Japan.
We're in Japan. We're in his home kind of zone, right?
And we were talking about earlier. He's one of those Japanese fighters where it doesn't translate for him.
Yeah,
he comes over and kicks some ass.
Yeah, he's won. Just other than Anderson Silva beating him up.
Right? He lives in Oregon.
Okay, right. Change with
he actually lives at Chael Sonnen's mom's house when he trains.
Wow.
Did you hear the story about?
No.
Okay, so real quick, I'll tell you the story. Chael Sonnen's mom is a champion clay shooter with shotguns.
Okay.
She was like the Northeast champion, and not just for women, for everybody. She competed against. Men and women compete together in shooting. She was the champ. So, Okami comes and trains with Chael. All right, and Chael has to leave because he has a fight somewhere. He has to go out of the state.
Yeah.
And Okami is they're training together, and then Chael says, I gotta leave, but you can stay at my mom's house, And Okami said, no, in his bad English. Chael said, no, I'll get a hotel, it'll be fine. And I believe actually what it was they were flying in really late or something like that. Yeah. They were flying in together, and Chael said, you just stay at my mom's house, you always do.
Yeah.
And he said, no, I'll get a hotel. And Chael said, okay, well, call me if you change your mind.
Yeah.
Well, instead of calling Chael, he shows up at Chael's mom's house, and he has a key to get in the house because guess.
Yeah, where's this going?
He stays in the back of the house. There's like a back section.
Okay.
But anyways, he gets into the house and he can't get into his room because his room's locked or something. So he goes to Chael's mom's door, and
I'm trying to imagine this.
Yes. Yeah. And instead of Chael says, instead of doing one of these, it's 2 a.m.
Right.
Excuse me, Miss Sonnen,
or
whatever. He goes. So Chael's mom jumps out of bed. She hears on her door. She's freaking out, right?
Yeah.
She's a champion shooter. First thing she does is grab her shotgun.
Oh, God.
All right? So she goes, who is it?
Yeah.
All she hears is... So
what a disaster. We're lucky Okami's alive.
So she hears...
Yeah.
And she answers...
Yeah.
Right? The universal sign of
I
have
tell
a
me
gun.
What's going on.
Yes. Yeah. And
tell me your name.
So apparently Yushin Okami, in the only English he knows, he goes, Yushin Okami, yes please. Yushin Okami, yes please. And she opened the door and it was Yushin standing there. And
how'd you get into my house?
Yeah. And,
wow. Well, it sounds like we're lucky Yushin Okami's alive.
So basically, he almost got shot by Chael Sonnen's mom.
That would have been a disaster. God.
Chael said he asked him, he says, why didn't you just knock on the door or call me? He says, I didn't want to bother anybody. He says, well, you almost got shot.
Yeah, you almost died. Welcome to America, right? So it sounds like we're both going Okami with the upset there. In Maybe a close fight? I don't know. If Okami wins, I feel like it'll be a decision or something.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm leaning a decision for Okami. 29-28 maybe. It could be close. It could be a close fight.
Okami Express, man. It's gonna grind.
I think in the end, I think Okami's underrated.
I don't know.
And I think Lombard's a little overrated. And I think the lines are reflecting that. So.
I don't know why I think this, but I don't see Hector Lombard having a great UFC career. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think he's he's got great talent. You know, he's not a bad fighter. And he's not overrated. I just don't see him translating so much. He looks a little gun-shy sometimes.
Yeah, a little bit.
And especially in that first
fight.
Like
he's in over his head or something.
And I mean, he fought Palhares, the two shortest dudes in the middleweight division.
Right.
They're both stumps, you know, so
really.
you're not fighting a stump, you're fighting Yushin Okami.
Yeah. Last fight on the main card, Dong Hyun Kim versus Baha Durzada. I hope I said that right. Baha Durzada, Dong Hyun Kim.
With Sidyar Baha Durzada.
Sidyar Baha Durzada, one of the Black Zillions. And the Black Zillions have not had a lot of UFC success lately. Rashad Evans lost. Alistair Overeem lost.
Yeah.
Baha Durzada trains with those guys. There might have even been one other loss in there. So I'm not sure. Right, Baha Durzada is the underdog here at plus 230. He's got a 21-4 record, which is impressive. And Dong Hyun Kim minus 300 on the line, 16-2 record. Apparently, there's been some trash talk from Dong Hyun Kim.
Really?
On this fight, yeah, which is surprising.
What? The guy never. I don't think I've ever heard him say anything.
Yeah, that's a lot of these Japanese guys don't say anything.
To sound racist. I don't mean this to sound racist.
No,
it is racial. I don't even think he can speak English.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
How's he talking smack?
I don't know. Drawing pictures or something. He's drawing pictures of what he's going to do to Baha Durzada.
Look, see this fist? Your face.
Yeah, fist pictures.
What's he saying?
I don't know exactly what he's been saying. I just know that Baha Durzada is sort of motivated by this. Yeah, he's like, I'm going to knock you out, all that kind of stuff. So this might be a great opening fight for the main card. Some background info. Dong Hyun Kim's 3-2 in his last 5, but he lost to Damian Maia and Carlos Condit. Those are his 2 losses.
Only 2 losses of his career.
Only 2 losses of his career. So we're looking at Baha Durzada, and I think it sort of comes down to whether or not you consider Baha Durzada on the same level as Damian Maia and Carlos Condit. I mean, Dong Hyun Kim's almost like the Uriah Faber of this weight class. It's like he beats everybody except for guys who are like challenging for titles. Sort of somewhat regularly, you know? And we haven't seen that a lot. We haven't seen a lot from Baha Durzada. He's been out for 11 months. And actually, interestingly, both guys' last win was over Paulo Thiago.
Huh.
Yeah. Except Baha Durzada's was last, I think, like April or something. And Dong Hyun Kim beat Thiago in November. So, I don't know. Baha Durzada's got a lot of first-round finishes. That seems to be like his method, right? He seems to be a dangerous striker who will finish you early if he finishes you, you know? I'm not sure.
Baha Durzada, Carlos Condit, Dong Hyun Kim, you know, that's really the question.
Yeah.
Because
he's
a finisher, together? You know, he's a striker. Yeah. Can he do the same thing that Carlos Condit did to Dong Hyun Kim? Can he overwhelm him, knock
him around, hit him good, yeah. I don't know. Then they got the black. It's almost like the curse of the Black Zillions.
Yes, he can. Will he? I don't think so because Dong Hyun Kim's got really good at neutralizing people with his wrestling. He just kind of he's very similar to Okami in that fact that he grinds you out.
Yeah,
there's a lot of good wrestlers.
There is in
coming
Japan.
Out of
the
Japan.
more we're talking about this card,
it's a lot of people don't know about it.
It's under
unless
the radar.
You kind of follow it a little, but there's a big wrestling scene in Japan.
Right.
Fitness actually is big there.
Yeah.
And the way they train wrestling and stuff, they train hard. You know, I mean, they're tough dudes, and then you see it.
Yeah.
With these Japanese wrestlers that come in the UFC.
I mean, we've seen that trend lately in the UFC the last few years too, right? Like great wrestlers beat great strikers. It seems like the trend at this point, right? How do you see this one going? What's your prediction? Lead us up to your prediction, I guess.
Okay, so I see Baha Durzada coming out aggressive.
Yeah.
And unless he catches Kim in the first round, I can see Dong Hyun Kim controlling him with his wrestling because Dong Hyun Kim has done it to everybody but Damian Maia, who just completely neutralized him and John Fitch in the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, just held on to him and held him down.
Yeah.
So it's not like Jung Hyun Kim got beat up by Damian Maia.
Yeah.
He did get beat up by Carlos Condit, but that was the first loss of his career.
Yeah.
You know, you can't blame the guy. He's lost to Carlos Condit, who just fought George St. Pierre, and he lost to the best jiu-jitsu practitioner maybe ever in the UFC.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree with you.
You gotta look at that and say he's more experienced in the UFC. He's in Japan. He's got a good. It's a bad matchup for Bahadurzada.
Seems to be a bad matchup. Yeah,
it seems to be a bad matchup, and I think he'll just Jung Hyun Kim. You know, he'll do his thing.
What's his nickname?
I don't think he has one.
Doesn't have one? I thought it was like the Donkey or something. Or am I thinking of somebody else?
No, he might have that.
Something like.
I'm usually pretty good about that. I don't know.
I'm blanking on his nickname right now. But it sort of reflects his fight style. I see the same thing happening here. I see Bahadurzada coming out really aggressively.
The Donkey, that's awesome.
And then just getting taken down. I think he's going to get taken down and stuck on his back. And I see him getting really frustrated too, right? Especially if this trash talk is really as bothersome to him as it seems to be. This could be like another Josh Koscheck, Paul Daly fight.
That
right?
might,
where he just annoys Bahadurzada, right, to the point where he just gets really frustrated.
Like I was talking about earlier, he might be too motivated. It might be a bad thing. A little too aggressive. You're getting taken down a little bit more.
Yeah.
Plus, he's got. I don't want to call it the Black Zillion curse, but it seems like in the UFC, these Black Zillion guys do not show up.
It's not happening so far.
But actually, if you look at the Black Zillions as a camp, they're guys in smaller organizations.
Melvin Gillard, too, is part of that?
Yeah. Their guys in the smaller organizations are doing really well. They're winning titles, and they're doing really well. And the guys in the UFC aren't. I don't know why.
Weird.
Yeah.
They're really good fighters, too. I mean,
the whole
Rashad, a lot of guys here.
Yeah. The whole Rashad Evans, Antonio...
Rogeria.
Fight was really weird. He just pawed at him the whole time.
Yeah.
And, dude... Nogueira is a Pan-American boxing champion. Like, he trains with the Brazilian Olympic squad and stuff. And the Cuban Olympic boxing squad. So, you don't stand up. That's just bad.
Is it a game plan thing?
I was going to say, that's bad
terrible
coaching.
game plan.
Game plan. That's the game plan.
I mean, you have Greg Jackson on the one end of that spectrum, right, with these incredible game plans. Maybe to the point of creating boring fights sometimes. But they win, and that's kind of what it's all about. Black Zillions,
get paid, and
they get paid money, and then they get another good fight.
Up,
exactly. Yeah, they save themselves. Yeah, they extend their career by fighting that way.
Not good for us.
Right. Not
good
fun for us, maybe.
Good
but
for them.
Good for them. So the Black Zillions maybe on the other end of the spectrum. I don't know who's designing their game plan.
I could see Bahadurzada having a bad game plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could see him not.
If he's not prepared to get taken down and get up again, then he's in for a long 15 minutes.
I know that he definitely has been training his takedown defense, but will he have a game plan with that takedown defense?
Yeah.
Will he circle? Will he use footwork?
Yeah.
Or is he going to be aggressive and try to not get taken down?
Get clinched up, taken down, right.
Yeah, I mean, hey, man, Dong Hyun Kim's in the couple fights thrown people like on their head, so...
Yeah, he's a strong guy.
Yeah.
So that concludes the main card of UFC on Fuel TV 8 from Japan. Lots of good. I think there's some underdog potential on this card. Definitely more than the last one.
At least with the Okami fight, I mean.
Yeah, the Okami fight I think is one we're both looking at there.
I think you've got a good chance to make a little bit of money on the Okami fight.
On the underdog.
As long as Lombard doesn't catch him early.
Yeah.
That's really my only thing.
Yep. Yeah, Gomi even's tempting, but yeah, it's a lot of good matchups here. I'm excited for this card.
We'll digress for a minute, because I think we're done with that, right?
Yeah, I think we're done. We're done with the main card.
I watched Bellator a couple weeks ago when King Mo was on it.
Oh, it was last week?
Yeah, last week. Was that last week?
Yeah, brutal.
Let's talk about that for half a second. That was a great card, man.
Yeah, that was
all stops on the whole card on the TV. It was all stops.
No decisions.
Ben Saunders, head kick, KO. Spinning back fist to King Mo's jaw by...
in round one.
Oh, I know his name. I'm just blanking right now.
Me too.
I know his name. I wanted to make sure I got his name right. One of the coolest names I've heard in MMA so far. Shabalat Shamalayev.
Oh, yeah.
Remember him?
He took it to...
He looked great.
He looks
against
really
that
good.
guy, man.
Who was he fighting?
Fast. I don't remember that guy's name, but he was the hometown boy.
Was it? No, it wasn't.
He's the hometown favorite.
Yeah.
I know the fighter. I've heard his name.
Yeah, I'm blanking right now. Too.
It was
a week ago, and
we haven't discussed this. This is me coming off the top of my head.
This is off the top of the head. Yeah.
But,
No, he looked fantastic. He really beat him up, man.
He's fighting Pat Kern.
Nice.
Yeah, so look forward to that.
That guy was.
We don't talk about Bellator a ton.
No, we don't talk about Bellator.
But I like to focus on the UFC. I think that's the major leagues, man.
Yeah.
You know, Bellator's pretty damn good too. You
Yeah.
got to give it to them, man. They
It's been
put
great
in
lately.
some interesting,
Really
fun, exciting fights.
I'm actually kind of glad you brought that up because DeepWaterMMA has just posted a look, sort of an analysis of the early upsets of the year so far. We've had a few, right? Rashad Evans lost, Overeem lost, King Mo got knocked out. That was based on the odds. That's one of the biggest upsets in MMA history.
Yep.
Right when King Mo lost.
You could have made so much friggin' money. I can't believe
$1 would have won you like
$100. If I would have saw
something crazy,
if I would have saw that,
it was a huge.
If I would have saw that and we would have talked about it, I would have picked King Mo to lose.
Yeah, just based on odds at least.
Yes, I would have said, God,
just for the payoff.
Put $20 on it, man.
Yeah, why not?
You lose $20, whatever.
Yeah.
You're gonna get
like win 200
more.
Yeah, it was a little bit more than that.
Minus 1,050 or something like that. It was crazy,
nuts.
Man.
So check that out, and I think actually DeepWaterMMA is in the process of creating an upset index. That's one of our projects. We're going to be looking at the factors that lead to upsets, and I think some of it is they've all been striking, so that's sort of like you can have a great game plan and be good at stuff, but it's that old cliche of let's see how it holds up when you get punched, right? And some of these guys they're losing because of this. So it's something we're going to be looking at, especially, and I think Japan's an interesting case because Japan is, in other words, people fighting Japanese fighters fighting in Japan, as opposed to coming over. So if you're looking for upsets, that's why we're looking at Gomi, we're looking at Okami a little bit. These guys are fighting kind of in their home culture, and I think that when you're looking for upsets, these are the kinds of things you got to start looking at. So we're gonna try and perfect that in the coming weeks and months, and hopefully eventually unveil some kind of upset index. So stay tuned if you want to keep making money on these picks, man. Anything else? Your fight recommendation?
My fight recommendation. If you have not seen, it's an old Pride fight. Chuck Liddell. It's an old Chuck fight.
Nice.
Versus Guy Metzger.
Nice.
Go watch that fight.
Go check that out.
That's a great fight. Guy Metzger's an old Lions Den, Ken Shamrock guy, and this is Chuck Liddell back in the heyday, and this is a vintage Chuck Liddell knockout.
Nice.
Maybe his most brutal ever, and a lot of people don't even know about it.
Yeah.
So check it out.
All right. That wraps up our third podcast. We're going to keep these coming as much as we can here in the next few weeks. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.
Peace.